Episode 355. I will be talking about tonight's episode of WWE Friday Night Smackdown, live from right here in Detroit, Michigan, AEW Rampage, and talking about some news going on in the world of pro wrestling on this Friday night, right here, right now, 360 Wrestling Fanatic. And welcome, wrestling fans, to another episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. I am your host, Lance Brock. Thank you for tuning in tonight right here on Spreaker and YouTube, Podcast Addict, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and many more podcast websites. Thank you for tuning in on this Friday TGIF. First off, gonna talk about WWE Friday Night Smackdown, which was live here in Detroit, Michigan at Little Caesars Arena, which unfortunately I was not there tonight. I had to watch at home on Fox 2 here in Detroit. But it looked like they had a really good crowd there. It was almost a sellout. At about, I want to say 3:30 or so, maybe a little after 3:30, I checked on WrestleTix, and they said there was 381 tickets available at the time. So close to being a sellout, and there was still time for walk-ups to the arena to buy some more. So this SmackDown did very well tonight as far as attendance goes anyway. We'll have to see about the ratings, but as for the attendance here in Detroit, did pretty well. And let's get started with tonight's episode of Smackdown. Once again, here in Detroit, Little Caesars Arena, the commentators, Michael Cole and Wade Barrett, and WWE did acknowledge Jay Briscoe at the top of the show. In the opening minutes of the first match, Michael Cole did address it, which I am glad WWE did. I know they also did on NXT last Tuesday night as well. Very nice at WWE. I give them credit for that. And we start things off with a SmackDown Tag Team Championship tournament to earn a title shot at the Usos. And we have Sheamus and Drew. They take on the Viking Raiders. Sheamus hits a bro kick on Ivar to get the pin to score the victory. for himself and Sheamus as they advance. And LA Knight is in action against Ren Jones, who, if you're a fan of Michigan independent wrestling, I'm sure you are definitely familiar with. I believe he is the current Clash Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. Short match though here. LA Knight gets the win. Continues to cut a promo on Bray Wyatt. He talks about how Bray Wyatt said he isn't Uncle Howdy, and then he said he is Uncle Howdy, and then all that. And then we get the return to WWE of the Firefly Funhouse. The whole cast is back. Abby the Witch, Mercy the Buzzard, Huskus the Pig Boy, and Ramblin' Rabbit, they're all back. And Bray Wyatt is, of course, back to the Firefly Funhouse Bray. And Ramblin' Rabbit says he likes LA Knight, but he says he's afraid of the dark. And Wyatt cuts one of the usual kind of Firefly Funhouse promo. And then it shows on the TV there at the Funhouse Uncle Howdy on the screen. Still haven't really explained what this Mountain Dew pitch black match is going to be. So I'm guessing we're not really going to find out anything about it until it's time for the actual match at the Royal Rumble. But who knows? Hit Row defeats Los Lotharios to advance in the tournament. And we get Raw Women's Champion Charlotte Flair in the ring, and then Sonya Deville comes out, challenges her to a rematch for the Smackdown Women's Championship. And in the main event, or the last match anyway, it was, even though it wasn't the last final segment on the show, the Brawling Brutes, Butch and Ridge Holland, take on Imperium in the final tournament match of the night. Or actually, I take that back. Second from last. And Imperium gets the win to advance. And now it's time for the final match of the night. Legado del Fantasma defeat the Maximum Male Models. And for the final segment of SmackDown tonight, we get the contract signing for the Undisputed Universal Championship match for the Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns taking on Kevin Owens. And during the night, when the Bloodline first arrived to Little Caesars Arena at the beginning of the show, Sami Zayn looking happy with the Usos, and he went to give a fist bump to the tribal chief. But Roman Reigns just looks at him, walks away, and then we see in their locker room, Sami try to talk to him, and Reigns gets real upset with him and annoyed, tells him to get out. And he wasn't happy about Sami thinking that he has to run his things by him, and so Sami leaves. But then later on, we see Paul Heyman go get Sami, and then Reigns again pretty much apologizes to Sami, so I guess they're on the same page, and he has him and the Usos go get the cars ready and the jet, and him, Wise Man, and Solo were going to go out to the ring for the contract signing. And right off the bat in the contract signing, Kevin Owens power bombs Roman Reigns right through the table, which is normally what happens in a contract signing anyway. Somebody ends up going through the table, so they just skipped right to it, skipped the talking, right through the table. And then Sammy comes out to try to save the tribal chief, but then Owens throws the contract at Sammy, and then he exits through the crowd. And that was Friday Night Smackdown for tonight, right here in Detroit. And like I was talking about on Good Morning Wrestling Fans, when I talked about the first Raw I went to, how I thought it was great being there live, because for me anyway, being there live makes even just an okay show even better. So for tonight, just watching it at home, I thought it was an okay show. Not, I wouldn't say there was anything real bad, but there wasn't really anything that I thought that was that great either. Now, if I was there live tonight, I probably would have be saying this was a great show, had a great night, had a lot of fun, but just watching it on TV, it was just an okay show. Nothing against it, but it was just kind of thumbs in the middle for tonight's episode of Smackdown. Let me know what you think in the comments on Spreaker or YouTube or wherever you're listening to the podcast, or email 360wrestlingpodcasts@gmail.com. And now we move on to AEW Rampage. And we start things off with Jungle Boy Jack Perry taking on All Ego Ethan Page, who has Matt Hardy and Darius Martin, or not Darius Martin, Isaiah Cassidy from Private Party, my mistake there. And Jungle Boy gets the win, and I thought this was a pretty interesting finish. Page he has a pinfall attempt on Jungle Boy, and he actually uses Matt Hardy's ponytail for leverage instead of just grabbing the ropes. But then Hardy slaps his hands away, and Jungle Boy is able to get the pin to defeat Ethan Page. And also Hook showed up on the ramp as well. Of course, after the match, Ethan Page was furious with Matt Hardy. And next, Tony Schiavone is in the ring with Ortiz. And he says he shouldn't be talking to Tony. He should be talking to who he thought was his friend. And then we see Eddie Kingston. Ortiz talks about the fact how he almost hit a woman with a chair last week, and Kingston hits Ortiz, I should say, and then he leaves. Doesn't say anything. Next up, we have a video package of the AEW TNT champion Darby Allin and Brian Cage versus Willie Mack is up next. Pretty good match here. Cage gets the win with the drill claw. now Jade Cargill and Layla Gray defeat Jada and Jordan, the Vanity Twins. Jade gets the pin for her team, so that moves the streak up to 49-0. And as Mark Henry would say, it's time for the main event. Daniel Garcia and Action Andretti. Really good main event, I thought. And it is Andretti getting the win. So now, next Wednesday night on Dynamite, Action Andretti and Ricky Starks will be taking on the Sex Gods, the team of Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. So that was AEW Rampage for tonight. It was a pretty good show. Also, I'd say about the same as Smackdown. Okay show. Not bad, not great. Just pretty good. But there's nothing wrong with pretty good, though. That's still good. And in some news, MLW has signed a TV deal with Reels. It's a channel that I have heard of before, but I don't really know too much about it. It will be debuting in February, I believe. And it's going to be airing Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. So now we will have 3 hours of pro wrestling on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. NXT, and then 10, the new MLW show. Should be good. And Naomi has spoke out about the reports that when she walked out, she cost herself a lot of money, something about in her new contract that there was more money than she's ever made before, but she simply just said, not true. Some pretty good news. Thunder Rosa, former AEW Women's Champion, will soon be returning to the road with AEW. Of course, a little while back, she had to vacate the AEW Women's Championship, and that is when Jamie Hayter became the interim Women's Champion. And then it was announced that Thunder Rosa would not be returning at the time. So at Full Gear is when Hayter became the official AEW Women's Champion. But now it appears that Thunder Rosa will be back soon, and it will be good to see her back. I see that there is a picture of that Ric Flair posted where he went to visit Steve Mongo McMichael, which I'm sure everybody remembers him from. When he started in WCW, he was a commentator on Nitro at the beginning, and then he started to wrestle, was in the Horsemen, but the last couple of years, his health hasn't been very good. And in the picture, he doesn't look very good, but definitely want to send him well wishes and positive thoughts.